talk with Sixers president Daryl Morey. He's set to join us right now on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. It's funny. This is kind of like when I think of Daryl Morey coming in, it's like the 76ers have hired Daryl Morey. You would hear like this music underneath, right? It's like, holy mackerel. But he joins us now on the Sports Bash Boardwalk Honda Hotline as he's the new president of basketball operations on Election Day. Congratulations. Welcome aboard, Daryl. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Thanks. I love the classic music there. Appreciate that.
I figured that was right up your alley.
Night on a bald mountain. I think that's what that was.
The hut on Fowl's legs.
Oh, that's from the gates of Kiev. Mussorgsky. That's Mussorgsky.
Correct.
Right?
That is
right?
correct. Yes.
Yes.
I picked that special.
Took me 2 tries though. You can fail me on that now.
I picked it special. I picked it special for you. I did that research.
Well, yeah, I do love it. Yeah, I don't know why I messed that one up. So yeah, hopefully. Well, if I go 1 for 2 on draft picks, that'll be good. So yeah, 50-50 is pretty good. So
you never know in this town. Ask your buddy Sam, right? Sam will
you
tell.
have to go 100% or it's over. Yeah, or it's over, right?
I'm sure you and Sam can have many conversations about draft picks, but let's get a couple thoughts on you on this. You're here now. You see this roster. I'll start with that. Biggest challenge when you look at this roster this offseason, which is going to be a kind of a wonky offseason. When you look at this roster and you talk to Elton, you said we're going to lock each other in a room yesterday. What is the challenge that you came out of that conversation saying?
We already got a smelly room going here. I just took a break to call you guys, then with Elton and then the crew here. Biggest challenge, I mean, that's a really good question. I would say probably the biggest challenge is how do we upgrade? Because actually, I think we're way better than was shown last year. Now, a lot of people got down on the roster last year, but Ben was out in the playoffs. I mean, Ben is such a critical piece to this team that, having him out is obviously going to make it really hard to get out of the first round of the playoffs. So I thought that was pretty unfair. But, we've got 2 superstars in their prime. I think a big challenge is how do we improve them? That's going to be Doc's challenge. And then, the fit of the players around them, the other players around Ben and Joel, how do we do that, in a way that, unfortunately other teams aren't out there trying to figure out how to help us out. So I would say that's probably the biggest challenge.
So when you left Houston, you decided, okay, I need to kind of get out, start over. When you look at the Sixers, and I know this might be tough because you're now with the Sixers and you were just in Houston, but to say, do you think the Sixers are closer than outsiders think?
I think 100%, because outsiders have us like with a 3% title odds and 6th in the East. That's Vegas right now. I was very surprised by that because the ingredients to be a championship contender are there. Now we need to prove it, but when you have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, you have 2 superstars, and then you've got a great coach now with Doc. We need to show it on the floor, but those are the formula. That's the formula for a championship contender. You look at the last 30 years of champions. They have 2 top 10 to 15 players, and then great players that fit around them. We have the ingredients for that. We've got to go out there and prove that we're a real contender. But yeah, right now nobody thinks we can be, and so that surprises me. It surprised Doc as well. Both of us thought we were going to be off for at least a year. And when we dug into this roster, we were like, wait, this has Ben Simmons, this has Joel Embiid, and this has, Al Horford and Josh Richardson and Tobias and some really good role players that Elton did a nice job in bringing in last year. The ingredients are there. Like we've just got to prove it.
Daryl Morey's with us. Do you think the Sixers are closer than the Rockets?
When I took over or now?
Well, I don't think much changed since you took over, other than you being there.
I will say this Philly team reminds me a lot of when I came to Houston with Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. It reminds me a lot. Actually, the players past the 2 superstars here in Philly are much better than in Houston. It took us a couple of years to build up the role players in Houston. And then unfortunately, when Tracy got hurt, but yeah, no, I think Philly has a very good chance. I would say Philly has a better chance because we're in the East. How's that?
Okay, that's fair.
For a diplomatic answer?
It's a diplomatic answer. I also figure, it's funny because there's a report going around that you guys are already interested in James Harden. Of course, you're here, so you're going to call them. But, it's one of those things like James is 31. Ben's a little younger. James is probably more ready to win now. Maybe Ben needs another year. So, Houston might be more experienced. Philly might have more higher end ceiling.
Well, Ben, I would say Ben and Joel, 2 stars in their prime, 24, 26. I mean, that's what you dream in the NBA to have. I mean, and most NBA teams would be dying to have either of them. So, that's we're going to build around them, and Doc and myself are going to put the right pieces around them.
All right. So, a lot of people. Okay, let me ask you this: what does Doc Rivers bring that maybe this group lacked from the outside looking in? Because there was a lot of questions. Like, you guys were on TV yesterday doing that presser, and it was like, look at this. You got Doc Rivers, Daryl Morey sitting on the screen, Elton Brand, and Josh Harris. Like, that was a completely different picture last year. So what does getting Doc in the room, do you think, how does that change just even with the same roster?
Well, it's a big factor in me coming here because I had worked with Doc before. We know he's a championship coach. There's a reason that he lasted 7, 8 years at his last 2 stops. I mean, he's an unbelievable coach, unbelievable motivator, knows how to get the most out of his players. Obviously proved it with a championship already and getting to deep in the playoffs a bunch of other times. So, yeah, I mean, I can't be more excited than to work with Doc. It's hard for me to comment relative to last year because I wasn't here. So, but I can speak about Doc because I know him, and he's going to bring a championship. He's going to demand championship habits and give us as good a chance as any coach in the league to win the title.
Now, we know, I mean, your Rockets teams, they were the second winningest team. You kept running into this Warriors team. So, you know what it takes to kind of, get right there. You need to have that player. And it's like LeBron, it's Durant, it's Curry. It's like that guy is Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons. Can they be the best player on the team that wins a title?
Yeah, absolutely they can. There's no doubt. But to your point, I mentioned that you need at least 2 of those guys to win. But really the only exception was the Hakeem team in '94, the one when Jordan was retired and before Clyde got there the next season. I mean, it's so we have but obviously it's much better to have 4 superstars like Golden State did. Yeah, I'd much prefer to have that situation. But if you have 2, it's like you've got a shot. If you have 3 or 4 like Golden State had, then yeah, like Golden State went into some season in the past and they had like 60% championship odds, like one of the most unheard of high percentages of a team going into a season in any sport ever. So yeah, I'm really happy to be in the East, and I'm really happy for the Golden State juggernaut to be at least a little bit diminished. To be fair, I actually think they're still the best team in the West. Don't tell the Lakers or these other teams. Like Golden State, I think, is going to be a monster next year again.
All right, so when you were hired or the reports were coming out, I got a flood of tweets like, about the Rockets' style. And I said, well, they didn't hire Morey to coach the team. You realize that, right? But do you feel that that's the style that best suits today's NBA? Like, as the person who's going to be a part of putting the team together, do you want that style?
Well, I think a lot of the reasons the NBA has shifted to that style is because, a player like Joel is so unique. Ben is super unique as well with his size and his passing ability, but I think why the league is going away from bigs is not because, necessarily that's what wins in the NBA now. It's because 2-way bigs are so hard to find. You can find guys who are elite on the defensive end or who are elite on the offensive end, but there's almost none who are elite on both ends, and Joel can be that. To me, that's what makes him unique. And that's what made Yao Ming unique as well. We had the number one defense while I was there with Yao Ming. Over the 3 years, we were championship contenders, and Yao was a devastating offensive player. Joel can be that. Ben, in a similar fashion, can be dominant on both ends as well. The fact that Joel and Ben both start as elite defensive players that's like a much better place to start than starting as elite offensive players, because it's actually much harder to convince these guys to be great defenders than it is to help improve offensively over time. So I like the starting point for both of them, and that their focus and where they're already elite is on the defensive end. And then now we're trying to get our offense from 12th last year into that top 10. And if we can have the number one defense, and Doc told me he's going to have the number one defense, so let's go. I'm excited about that. And we just need to get that offense in the top 10, and now we're a championship contender. That's a formula for winning. That was their formula for winning in Boston with Doc in 2008. Number one defense in the league. I think offense was like 8 or so.
All right, we're spending a couple more minutes here with Daryl Morey, the new Sixers team president. We'll leave you with this, because you were in Houston. You obviously had some great teams and came up short. Is there something you look back on and say, man, when I go someplace else, I got to do this to get us there that I didn't do in Houston? Is there something you look back on and say, if I pulled the trigger and did this, or there was something I could have done to get us over the hump?
Well, I made a lot of mistakes there, but a lot of the mistakes were based on being aggressive. So I don't know. I mean, obviously we were up 3-2 on Golden State and had 15-plus leads in both games 6 and 7. So I'll always look back and try and figure out what I could have done better. If there was something to keep Chris healthy, I don't know. The problem was, to beat that Golden State team, we had to tax. Really, our whole roster was playing. All our top players were playing 40-plus minutes. We had no chance otherwise. So, yeah, maybe I would go back and not have Golden State be able to sign a fourth All-Star after they win 72 games. That would probably be probably what I'd do. I got Ned Cohen, my man Ned Cohen here from the league office. I'm going to make it so that CBA doesn't allow a team with 3 superstars out of fourth again. That would be the change I would want.
We'll leave you. Daryl Morey, by the way, have you talked to Sam? Like, it's an odd situation where he had this job and now you're here. Like, a lot of his guys, it's like some of his children are in your playroom now.
Yeah, I've always been tight with Sam. We'll be friends forever, and I'm happy he's moved on to being one of the top VCs in Silicon Valley. But no, it's been cool that this worked out for him here, and then worked out for me now as well.
Well, we wish you luck, and obviously it's a big job. People are so into this team, as you were about to find out, and we wish you all the luck in the world, and we appreciate you jumping on board, Daryl.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Daryl Morey, the Sixers team president, right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.